following program on Other Derana 24 is classified MA. It is intended for adults and may be unsuitable for children under 17. It may contain crude, indecent language, explicit sexual activity, graphic violence, or political ideology. Viewer discretion is strictly advised. State of the Nation is an opinion-based program. The thoughts and opinions shared within this program are not intended to offend or disregard anyone's perspectives or beliefs. We aim to foster open dialogue, encourage critical thinking, and explore thought-provoking subjects. Recognizing the importance of diversity and inclusion, this program welcomes all viewpoints and cherishes the right to express them freely. This program also contains the opinions of the participants and does not reflect the views and beliefs of the Derana Media Network. The network believes in a safe space for all ideas to be expressed and on its duty to create such a platform for free speech. Viewer discretion is strictly advised.
Good evening. Another resounding victory for the NPP. Well, not so much. In a span of just 7 months, the National People's Power, which was raised to a really high level of power in our nation's governing process by the people, has chosen this election to send a warning to the leaders: deliver what you promised or be prepared to be voted out in the next election. Also making global headlines, Habemus Papam, we have a pope. As church bells rang across the world, the era of His Holiness Leo XIV has now begun. For insights, analysis and opinions, tonight I'll speak to the Rector of St. Aloysius Seminary in Borella, Reverend Father Prasad Harshana, Deputy Minister of Finance and Planning, Dr. Harshana Sooriyapperuma, Member of our nation's opposition, the SJB, Harshana Rajakaruna, Opposition Member from the SLPP, Namal Rajapakse, Former Minister and National Organizer of the Sarvajana Balaya, Dilum Amunugama, Former Chief of Staff for the former President and the current National Organizer for the United National Party, Sagala Rathnayake, Former Minister and Leader of the People's Alliance, Priyadarshan Yapa, Leader of the Ilangai Tamil Arsu Katchi, CVK Sivanyanam, the Executive Director of PAFREL, Rohana Hettiarachi, and Global Business Cycle Analyst, Dr. Kenneth De Silva. Good evening, I'm Mahieash Johnney, and this is the State of the Nation. Welcome everyone to the State of the Nation, Sri Lanka's only opinion show that gives you the side not told in mainstream media. And I'm here to bring you a fresh perspective on the issues that matters to you the most. Well, we took a hiatus, giving way for the election just like we told you last time. And here we are back on the 11th of May as promised. We got a lot to sort out through special reactions to the recently concluded election, or elections, considering the papal conclave as well. So let's get right to it. When people went to the polls back in September of 2024 last year to elect a new leader, the choice they opted for was, of course, the incumbent president, Amunugama Dissanayake. Now, despite him going down in history as the first president to be elected after seeking the second vote and not clearing an outright 50% and one vote majority, our nation's people were tired of the same old and thought of backing him, whom many saw as a third-party candidate to lead a broken nation. And despite the not-so-clear mandate at the presidential election, it was later corrected, so to speak, in the general election, backing the NPP government and its policies with a commanding majority, completely overshadowing any doubts about their mandate. The people spoke loud and clear, and it was deafening. The message was very clear: please do what you promised in your campaign and in your manifesto and deliver the results. Now, after just 7 months since that decision, people got another chance to speak directly to the government via their vote. And it too delivered a message: a message of caution. The message seems to be, you're not doing what you promised and our lives are still not so great. The government has a clear decision to make right now. It's evident that the government has come to a very pivotal moment in its governing process. The option they chose to proceed with the same path set forth by their predecessors, like following the same plan of the IMF, is not getting the seal of approval from the people. But of course, it gets the seal of approval from the very rich in our country, as continuing on that path helps the uber rich. However, for you and me, the not so lucky rich ones, it's not making our lives much better. This government promised, as per the manifesto, which you can check it at npp.lk, a fulfilling life, a comfortable country, an honorable life with a promise of a safer country, a modern life, making a wealthy nation, and a dignified life, prepping up for a stronger country. So my question to you is, are you comfortable? Is the economy doing well enough that you live a comfortable life without debt? And are you safe? With over 79 incidents of shootings in broad daylight within the last 7 months, resulting in over 52 killings, are you safe? And are you wealthy? Or is this more rich kind of situation? And of course, is this country strong? The answers to those questions reflected clearly on your vote in this election. And it's time the government hears it as well. Without trying to spin this in the media as a resounding victory, the government must understand the undertone of dissatisfaction that is slowly growing. If this government can listen to that undertone and make the necessary changes immediately, then for sure this government can garner power for a second term. If not, the NPP government will also go down in history as another one-term government like the Yahapalne government back in 2015, the Gotabaya Rajapakse government back in 2019, it couldn't even finish its term, and the Ranil Wickremesinghe government back in 2022. The people have spoken once again, and the message is still loud and deafening. Why not, Mr. President, Madam Prime Minister? Listen. We'll be right back. Welcome back everyone to the State of the Nation. Well, before we focus on local government elections, I want to set your eyes on a global election that concluded recently, dubbed the most secretive election in the world. Well, the Catholic Church recently concluded its 267th conclave to elect the 267th Pope. And of course, it was another groundbreaking event, just like in 2013. This time, the first ever American Pope, Cardinal Robert Prevost, was elected. Taking on the papal title of Leo XIV, His Holiness promised to set an example of inclusion among the faithful and continue to be a bridge builder. Let's get some reactions. And for that, joining me now is Reverend Father Prasad Harshana, who is the rector at the Aloysius Seminary in Borella. Thank you very much, Father, for your time, and good to see you once again on a joyous occasion this time. Well, your initial thoughts on another history-making Pope, this time the first American Pope.
Yes, Mahieash, indeed it was a joyful night, and it was a miracle indeed, you know. Why? Because you remember we have been talking a lot on the day we had our funeral of our Holy Father Pope Francis. Why it is a miracle, why it is joyful? Because of the shock, you know. So many people, you remember we have been discussing these matters, so many people have been making so many predictions, so many prophecies, so many lists, you call papabilis, possible popes. But then we told you very directly, very profoundly, very strongly, we told you we are waiting for the Lord Jesus. Because Sistine Chapel is a place of miracles. This has been the history. There have been so many names, so many lists. But then we were very strong and we have been telling you all, we have been telling everyone, let's wait for the Holy Spirit. And there is nowadays another wrong interpretation. Most of them interpret or identify our new Pope as an American Pope, the first American Pope. These titles have no meaning, to be very honest, because we don't have in our Catholic Church American Pope, Asian Popes, European Popes, African Popes. No, these are only, human beings just try to explain things. We have a Roman Catholic Pope, Holy Father, a universal figure for the whole world, the Vicar of Christ. That's it. Whether he's an American, no African, no Asian, these titles have no meaning when it comes to the mission proper. If you remember last night, when our new Holy Father, Pope Leo XIV, when he appeared from the window of the St. Peter's Basilica, he never uttered the word of English. If he would have been a real American, American would have spoken in English. Instead, he knows. And all of us know. When it comes to the Catholic Church, whether you are American or Asian or African or European, you are a Catholic priest, a Catholic Pope. That's it. But then, this is a miracle. Why? Because so many people prophesied, so many people had so many names, but none of these lists you find the name of our present Pope. Now that is why we have been telling this will be a miracle. God the Father, with the power of the Holy Spirit, in the Sistine Chapel, very especially in the month of Mother Mary. All these things put together, and with the cardinals and all others joining together on our knees, we have finally a wonderful man of God in the person of Pope Leo XIV.
Indeed, Father, as Pope Leo XIV takes over as the Vicar of Christ, seems like a daunting task to follow in the footsteps of late Pope Francis. What do you think, in your opinion, that his immediate challenge is going to be?
Of course, he will have so many challenges, and that's for sure. Challenges within the church as well as outside the church. But then we believe in the power of God's love and His presence. The same Holy Spirit, the same Jesus, same God will be with him. That is our trust, that is our faith. In fact, to be very honest, when Pope Francis accepted the mission 12 years ago, he had so many challenges. But see how he faced all those challenges with the grace of God. Finally, at the end of his papacy, everybody started talking about Pope Francis. How merciful he was, how generous he was, how humble he was, how finally holy he was. The same power, the same Holy Spirit will guide our new Pope as well. And therefore, definitely, for us Catholics, we believe even after death we are united. I'm sure Pope Francis will certainly help our new Pope Leo XIV. The challenges are, sure to come, definitely. There is no doubt that the challenges of, moral issues such as LGBT, divorce, and all these moral issues will certainly be there. But then we have no fear. We have no fear. We have a rule to follow, and that is the Word of God, and that is the sacred tradition of the Catholic Church. And we have so many popes who have been challenged, but then they also experience the grace of God. That is why we need to pray for the new Holy Father Pope Leo XIV. We will not isolate him. He is not going to face all these challenges by himself alone. Instead, we, the Catholic Church, 1.4 billion people, will be joining him. Certainly, with all the saints, especially Mary, our mother, will certainly be there with him. And therefore, all these challenges that are sure to come on his way, he will certainly face them profoundly with strong faith. Let's not be fearful. Have no doubts. He will do the best with the grace of God.
Indeed. Well, we hope for God's blessings as Pope Leo XIV starts his ministry leading the flock. More than 1.4 billion Catholics around the world, and even more faithful around who looks to him as a leader who can actually bridge so much of gaps. Thank you very much, Father. We had to leave it at that. That was Reverend Father Prasad Harshana, the Rector of the St. Aloysius Seminary in Borella. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, we'll hear from the national organizer of the SLPP, Parliamentarian Namal Rajapakse, and later from the national organizer of the United National Party, Sagala, Rathnayake. This is the State of the Nation. Back in a moment. Welcome back, everyone, to the State of the Nation. Now, the ruling National People's Power has secured the majority of local bodies in the recent election. However, a closer analysis of the results reveals a troubling trend. Now, despite securing the majority of local bodies, the voter base of the National People's Power has shrunk compared to the 2024 election. The opposition parties have gained ground in this election with a significant increase in their voter share. Now, here's the raw data on that. In this recently concluded local government election, even from the voter turnout perspective, it was at 61.88%, down at a staggering 18.6% from the last election in 2024. The NPP lost over 2.3 million votes within a span of 7 months when comparing the 2024 parliamentary election and the 2025 local government elections. Now, despite NPP securing the victory of 265 local bodies, which surpasses the 2018 SLPP record, securing power in 139 bodies seems to be questionable for the NPP, meaning that the collective opposition's member tally is higher than the NPP's member tally in those local bodies. So they really have only won, if you really analyze it, as a standalone party in 126 bodies. While the ruling NPP loses voter share, every other party in the opposition has managed to strengthen theirs. Our nation's opposition has managed to increase their votes from 1.9 million in 2024, the SJB, in the general election, to 2.2 million in this year's local government election. It's the same with all the other opposition parties, especially the SLPP, the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, a party that only got a mere around 350,000 votes in 2024, manages to push it threefolds to closer to 1 million votes. That's a 6.03% increase. Let's take a deep dive on this, and for that, joining me now is Anuradhi Vikramasinghe, who's tonight at the data board. Anuradhi, first of all, let me congratulate you on graduating from the University of London on law. I don't know why you are doing law. It's not as if we have shortages of lawyers in this country, but anyway, that's my opinion. Congratulations on that. So let's get down to business. When you compare all three elections, which we recently concluded, the presidential, the parliamentary, and now the local government election, what patterns did you find?
Well, first of all, Mahieash, thank you very much for the congratulations. Now, despite your aversion to lawyers, I feel like that itself is causing you to attract more lawyers. So this is a conversation we have to have later, but thank you once again for the congratulations. Moving right down to business, Mahieash, when comparing the three elections that we've had so far, there is a bit of a concerning trend when it comes to the NPP and its position of power in the country. If you could take a look at last year's presidential elections, you would have noticed that there is a lot of tumultuous times relating to President Amunugama Dissanayaka's election. Specifically, he was considered a president elected upon technicality. The first round garnered him 42.31% votes, and then we saw in the second round he actually garnered 55.89%, giving him that majority, but still he was considered a president on technicality due to the fact that he required more than one round to secure his majority. Now, this entire technicality debate a few months down the line following the election was nowhere to be seen, because in the general elections we would have seen a massive mandate that had been handed, the likes of which we haven't seen since President Gotabaya Rajapakse's administration, having garnered 61.56% votes. 6.8 million people, close to the 6.9 that we saw back in Gotabaya Rajapakse's regime, actually got together across the country and united the country in a sea of pink to actually put the NPP in power. 159 seats, which is higher than President Gotabaya Rajapakse's regime as well, administration as well. So we saw that the opposition actually lost throughout the board, across the board, and the NPP seemed to finally, by extension, accept Amunugama Dissanayaka as the president and the NPP as their government. Fast forward a few months and the story is completely different. The script has completely been flipped, because right now that 6.8 million people, they're nowhere to be seen. It's now 4.5 million people that have stuck around, 43.37% of the final polls that have been handed over to the NPP. And this entire conversation about the entire country being united in order to elect this specific party and elect this specific government is not the case anymore, because the North was completely swept up by the ITAC party and was lost from the NPP's hands. And overall, we saw a complete increase of numbers across the opposition as well. And parties like the UNP, which we thought were dead and gone in the political landscape, actually rose up again and garnered significant support. Now, considering the fact that there's one more election left, the provincial councils, it's a very questionable trend that we can see at the moment. Of course, all we're seeing is declines. It could be because the opposition upped their PR game. It also could be due to the fact that the campaign promises are taking much longer to deliver than initially expected with that time frame. So really, Mahieash, we can look forward to seeing some sort of trend that could be alarming for the NPP, specifically when it comes to securing their power in the political landscape of Sri Lanka. Over to you, Mahieash.
Indeed, it is. If you are part of the NPP, it should be worrying, because it's not a good sign. Within a span of 7 months, you lose that much of votes. At least the good news here is that it's just not even 1 year completed, so you have so much of time in order to change this around up until 5 years in order to get back your voters and to keep the promises you made during the campaign. Well, thank you very much, Anuradhi Vikramasinghe, at the data board tonight. Let's bring in Mr. Rohan Hettiarachchi, the Executive Director of People's Action for Free and Fair Elections, or PAFREL, to get more insights into the recently concluded election. Thank you, Mr. Hettiarachchi, for your time. Now, if you analyze this result, does it show a lack of faith by the people on this government, or is it another certification of the incumbency and what they've been doing thus far?
I think, Mahieash, we can't read it that the government popularity has been lost because anyway, local government elections, the turnout is basically low. That is the tradition in Sri Lankan history. It's somewhere around 60 to 50 to 60 in general. It has difference in 2018. But as you said, the government, the vote base compared with the last parliamentary elections reduced in a I think significant way. So that is in a way it's a signal also, but mainly this is the local elections which has a lot of local candidate which has link up with the community. The people may vote for their own relationship, friendship, and they may have many other relationship. They don't take it as a national elections. So therefore, this the government popularity we can't judge based on that. But on the other hand, after 6 months or immediately after the government, whatever the party who run the country, if they go for a second, third elections, their popularity generally goes down. That is the tradition basically. But this elections, government also need to get the signal, but it doesn't say that the government is bad or government direction is wrong, but there are some sort of signal in my understanding. Government need to think why this has reduced in a way, even though it's not a big amount, big number, but there are some sort of signal for them also.
Mr. Rohana, in terms of voter turnout, we saw a considerable drop in numbers. This time in the local government election, could it be related to election fatigue? Are the people losing interest in the process of democracy, and would it be better to space out elections with different time frames?
Well, if you compare with 2018 local election, yes, there is a considerable drop, but it was completely different political environment in 2018. We had this Mahinda Sulanga, and the people were not happy with the government those days. So the people took it as a national election in 2018. But these elections we are having immediately after, we had these local elections immediately after the presidential election and the parliamentary election. So therefore, this is not the significant drop in that way. And also most of the local election, the voter turnout is somewhere around 50 to 60 if you look back last 20 to 30 years local elections. But at the same time, I wish to highlight that the image which we have built for the local government also badly impact for this turnout, because we call it local elections. Nobody is serious about the local elections. This is not turning or changing the government. So that is the image we have built over the decades. But I wanted to emphasize that local elections also can make a big difference in their local authority. They have enormous power as a local council because they can earn and spend. Other than the central government, this is the only authority where they can earn and spend, because the rest of the places we can earn, but we have to send to the central government and request again. So the image we have built also make a big impact in this low turnout, but it is general compare with previous other local elections.
Absolutely good points there. Well, we have to leave it at that. Thank you very much. That was Mr. Rohan Hettiarachchi, the Executive Director of People's Action for Free and Fair Election, or PAFREL. Well, I want to get more reactions from the political parties. First, I want to get reactions from the government. We tried our best to get a member from the government to come and comment, but apparently the party's media coordinator, despite us trying many times to get someone to come on the show and answer our questions, so we can, have a back and forth, he keeps telling us to take the statement they made at the recently held media briefing. So here's the General Secretary of the NPP, Parliamentarian Dr. Nihala Besinga, at a said media briefing soon after the elections, reacting to the results. Watch.
We have won a large number of local government elections, and likewise in the presidential election and the last parliamentary election, the people have kept the trust on national people's power. And we will see that we will establish these councils very soon, perhaps in areas where we have categorically won. It will be easy for us to establish the councils, but where we haven't we do not have the majority, but other small parties, independent groups have got the majority. We will consider how to establish the councils, and after the establishment of the council, we will continue our work we have been doing from the establishment of our parliamentary victory in November. So we will have a lot of issues to be settled during the coming years, and we are sure that the local government councils will help us with the people in these areas to establish a good relationship with the public and continue our developmental work in the coming months.
Well, that's the point of view of the government. Well, despite the government trying to spin this as a mega success, like we showed you, it seems to be contrary to the data at hand. Let's get more from other political parties, and the party that came in second is our nation's opposition, the Samaga Janabalawegaya. It too increased its voter share from 17.66% in the parliamentary elections to 21.69% of voter share in this local government election. Joining me now to get their reactions is parliamentarian Harshana Rajakaruna from the SJB. Thank you very much, parliamentarian, for your time. Reactions to the recently concluded elections. Is your party happy with the results you got?
Thank you, Mahieash. Thank you for having me. Yes, I think we have managed to increase our voter base compared to the last parliamentary election. So it's a significant increase, and also we have seen a significant decrease when it comes to the NPP voter base. So I mean, though they have managed to win a number of councils, we have seen a major decline in the voter base, and it's a major decline within 6 months. So we have seen that there's definitely a shift and a downward trend when it comes to the NPP voter base, and we are happy that we have the SJB have managed to increase our base. Me representing Gampa district and being the leader of Gampa district from the SJB, yes, we have increased about good 10% of the votes in Gampa district. Therefore, we are very happy with the result. Obviously, you can't expect miracles within 6 months, but I believe that we will be able to win the next national election.
Absolutely. Parliamentarian, now many are watching the fight for the mayoral position at the Colombo Municipal Council. Despite the government getting a majority of votes for the Colombo Municipal Council, the number of members the government received was low, and the number of members the collective opposition received was higher, which means you have the ability to elect the next mayor of Colombo. But here's my question. Can the whole of the opposition be united to achieve this and get behind your candidate, or are you looking to back a third party candidate within the collective opposition?
So when it comes to the local council elections, I think Colombo Municipal Council is a significant council when it compared to the rest of the local council institutions. We believe that we have the second highest members or second highest councillors, and most of the opposition parties have given their support and they have pledged their support, and we believe that the Colombo Municipal Council mayor would be a SJB candidate, and that they will support the SJB candidate that we propose. And clearly the opposition has a majority, and I'm very confident that we will have a SJB Colombo mayor.
All right, it's going to be some interesting times as well. Some were saying that maybe we have to look for a sign for white smoke to come out from the Colombo Municipal Council building in order to know that whether a mayor has been selected. Well, we had to leave it at that. Thank you very much. That was Parliamentarian Harshana Rajakaruna from the SJB. Let's get more reactions, and for that, joining me now from the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna is its national organizer, Parliamentarian Namal Rajapakse. Thank you very much, Namal, for your time. Now, first of all, congratulations on completely increasing your voter base, and it looks like you have managed to reverse what happened at the general election. Your reactions to the results?
Well, I think it's a collective effect by the party grassroots levels, and also mobilizing our party cadres back to the village. As you know, during the COVID-19 pandemic and post-pandemic, and even during the Aragale, we were distanced from the people. We were distanced from our party grassroots level leadership. So I think what we have done well in the last couple of months is connecting back with the people, and also people have realized that the NPP or the JVP government has lied to gain power, and also has misled people badly.
Well, Namal, one of the things to comprehend now, if you look at the voter growth, the SLPP has managed to expand from around 300,000 to closer to 1 million, which is almost threefold the votes. This means the party has a good grassroots network. What did you do different this time in order to change the mindsets of the people?
Well, nothing different. It's just that we engage with our grassroots. I mean, we started talking to them and explaining them, what went wrong, and also accepting what we have done wrong and correcting ourselves and moving forward. That's it. And I'm sure there are a lot more to do and a lot more to outreach, and we will be doing in next couple of months. We will start again going back to Gamengama, and meet people and talk to them.
Absolutely. Well, we had to leave it at that. Thank you very much. That was Parliamentarian Namal Rajapakse from the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. Now, another party that has managed to gain votes seems to be the United National Party. Now, after the 2020 general election, we thought the UNP was done and dusted, and the people have erased that party from the electoral map. But boy, were we wrong. Joining me now is the national organizer for the United National Party, Sagala Rathnayake. He was also the Chief of Staff for President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Rathnayake. Appreciate it. Now, what is your reaction to the current election and the results that the people has given the UNP?
Thank you, Mahieash, for having me. 7 months ago, the executive president was elected with a 42% vote. 2 months later, he brought his government in with a 2/3 majority and 69, I believe it was about 61% voting for him. It's just 7 months since his presidency. His party has already started falling in the public eye. They have lost 2.3 million votes in this local council election. The president campaigned for it, going from place to place in the country. He appealed to the people to give them the mandate again and to have confidence in him so that they could continue the work. He went to the extent of threatening that the councils that are defeated will not be given money by the government. He flew back from Vietnam in a private jet, unprecedented in the history of presidents of this country, to vote for his party. But the party lost 2.3 million votes. this shows that the people has lost confidence in this government and they want change. And this is the beginning of that change.
Mr. Rathnayake, the UNP seems to have actually seen a growth, and a party we thought was obliterated from the electoral map has once again managed to garner almost 500,000 votes. This shows, in my opinion, that the voters want the old UNP back. Any thoughts that the original party would revive?
Mahieash, the UNP cannot be gotten rid of. It's the strongest party in the country. Every time the UNP lost its unity, we have been defeated in elections. It happened in 1956 when Prime Minister S.W.R.D. Bandaranaike broke away and contested the election actually. And it had happened a few times after that as well. Sadly, this time it has taken us a longer time to recover, but we have always rebounded somehow, formed government and worked for this country, and we will do it again this time. We started with this election. We contested under the elephant symbol after a few elections, and it has that has also brought strength to the party. But more than anything else, we are bringing in new faces, we are reorganizing, we are training our people well to be good politicians as well as be committed to what they're doing for the people and the country. And we are quite sure that we will be the force to reckon with in the near future.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Rathnayake, finally, will you be supporting the NPP government in certain local administrations where they haven't managed to get an absolute majority to form power?
We don't believe in this government. They lied to the people to come into power. They are trying to lie their way through to stay in power. They have not done anything that has been worthwhile for the people or the country. The economy is getting weak again, so we will not support them. We will come together with other parties and other independent groups in opposition wherever possible to form the administration within those local councils, especially the Colombo Municipal Council. We are in discussions at the moment with other parties and independent groups, and we will ensure that those local areas are well managed for the people of those areas.
All right, let's leave it at that. That was Mr. Sagala Rathnayake, the national organizer for the United National Party. Thank you once again. Let's take a short break, and when we return, more reactions from political parties. The national organizer and former minister Dilum Amunugama from the Sarvajana Balaya will be here shortly. And later, I'll speak to the leader of the People's Alliance, another party which we thought was over, former Minister Andre Priyadarshan Yapa. This is the State of the Nation. Back in a moment. Welcome back everyone to the State of the Nation. Now, one of the newest parties in the political playing field is the Sarvajana Balaya. Their inaugural foray to politics was at the presidential election in 2024, and they managed to gain around 0.92% of the votes. But in the parliamentary election a month later, this increased to 1.60% of the votes. And in this recently concluded local government election, again, another increase to 2.83%. Now, understand, Sarvajana Balaya, under the leadership of Dilip Javira, is a brand new party. It's the only party that revolves around entrepreneurship. And if they continue in this trajectory, in the next election, they will soon become a force to reckon with. Let's get some reactions, and for that joining me now is former Minister Dilum Amunugama, who's now the national organizer for the Sarvajana Balaya. Thank you very much for joining me on the program, Mr. Amunugama. First of all, reactions to the results you obtained at the election. How do you interpret this?
Yes, Mahieash, it's like this now. If you analyze the number of votes obtained by the governing party, it's about 24 lakhs of votes has reduced from the result of the previous election. And if you, as far as Sarvajana Balaya is concerned, we ran for 225 local government institutions, and we have managed to obtain 226 positions in these 225 local governments. And as you know, Sarvajana Balaya was launched or relaunched. It was previously known as the Mahieash Janata Paksha, but we relaunched it at the last general election as Sarvajana Balaya under the new emblem, which is the medallion. And it is just 6 months that we have been through after the relaunch, and it's a great achievement for us. It's about 4% of the total number of votes that we have obtained. If you take certain parties to come to this 3%, the most common percentage which is used is the 3%. Especially the governing party, to get to 3%, they took more than 56 years. But Sarvajana Balaya has almost obtained 4% of the total votes within 6 months. So progress-wise, Sarvajana Balaya is on a climb and progressing very fast.
Mr. Amunugama, now the biggest loser despite receiving the lead in the highest number of local government bodies is the current NPP government. Why do you think the people changed their minds?
You couldn't say that, yeah, they are technically, with the result, they are leading. But it's still to, the results are still to come as to how many councils they can establish power in. As far as I know, most of the councils, more than 80% of the councils, the opposition count is more than the government count when it's all put together. So we have to see how the opposition parties will act at the time of establishing power of the local government institutions separately. But however, you can see that there is a sharp decline in the voter base that voted last time for the NPP. So I think in the next 2 weeks, we will be able to see how many councils, though they are leading, we will be able to see how many councils they are able to establish their power or obtain the presidency in the councils.
Well, will the Sarvajana Balaya be interested in supporting opposition coalitions or join with the NPP to secure power in certain local bodies where the government doesn't have an outright majority?
Yeah, we wouldn't say we'll support the government or opposition, but based on the situation surrounding each local government institutions, based on what the policy and based on who the candidate is going to be presented as the chairman candidate, the executive committee of the Sarvajana Balaya will decide whom to support. So we won't just point blankly go and say that we are against the government or we are with the opposition. Of course we are with the opposition, but it is from council to council that we will decide what our stand is that we will take at the time of voting.
All right, thank you very much. Let's leave it at that. That was the national organizer for the Sarvajana Balaya, Dilum Amunugama. Now, another party that we thought was wiped off from the face of the earth was the People's Alliance. This party is a coalition led by the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, founded by former Prime Minister SWRD Bandaranaike way back in the 60s. However, in this election, a resurgence. Again, the people seems to be resonating with the original party. Joining us now is the leader of the People's Alliance, former Minister Prasad. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Appreciate it. Your reactions to the results of this election? I keep asking from all the party members that keeps coming on the show today.
This has election was held after a very short period after the presidential election and the general election is over. So I think the present government, they had a massive majority in parliament, if I can say 2/3 majority. So they went to the election with a lot of confidence. But you can see their situation is bit bad in the sense that though they claim that they have won, but 50% of those places they have not been able to secure majority, and their voting strength has gone down. Other parties have gained their strength in voting as well as in the representatives. So in that sense, I think this is a eye opener for the government, because they'll have to rethink their strategy. So we have gained a lot, because after 20 years we are contesting from the symbol of chair, and we have taken up number of votes and number of representatives, and we are happy with our results.
Former Minister, will your party have plans of supporting the government to secure power at local bodies which they don't have an absolute majority?
I think this has been earlier ruled out by themselves. So providing support for them is out of the question. So we have taken a decision that we will support the opposition, those who are willing to want our support to form their own administrative positions in the provincial Pradesh Sabhas. We will support them. So there's no problem in that. Today we have decided that.
All right, let's leave it at that. That was the leader of the People's Alliance, former Minister Prasad. Thank you very much for your time. And to wrap things up, let's get reactions from the Ilangai Tamil Alskachi, or the ITAC, who performed very well in the northern parts of our nation. This was a much different picture back in 2024, where the masses in the north supported the NPP. This time, not so much. So what changed? Joining us now is the leader of ITAC, CVK Sivanyanam. Mr. Sivanyanam, thank you very much for your time. Now, we want to get some reactions on the results of this election. ITAC, as a party, has managed to regain power back in the north. What are your thoughts on this?
As you say, it's a regain. Thank you, Mahieash, for your opportunity given to me to speak to you. Now, coming to us, ITAK is a leading party established in 1949. We have been representing the Tamil community for a very long time. But we did suffer a setback during the last parliamentary election, perhaps due to the Anura wave in politics in the right of the country. Now that our policy has always stand as a community, Tamil community, and discuss, deliberate every issue with the government in power in a parity state, in power with that. So that situation got affected during with the parliamentary election. We accept that. But now that we have explained our position, that the leadership of the local authorities, the party leadership, should be also from the local community, local parties. That is most important, that we carry to the masses, the message that we convey to the masses. And it has been accepted. Probably they have accepted because, if you take Jaffna district as such, we have 409 seats, out of which NBP only got 81. Rest of that, about 20%. Rest of the 80% has now been with the national parties, the Tamil national parties. So that is, as the ITAK, as a senior party with a senior leadership, we were able to secure a leadership, regain our leadership, both in the country as the Tamil community. And again, within the Tamil national parties also we are leading. And then we will get together and form administration in the local authorities in the future.
Well, will your party be supporting the NPP government to secure power in bodies they don't have an absolute majority?
No, actually, to be precise and clear, we will be negotiating with the Tamil parties. I mean, as I told you, it is about 20% has been won by NPP. We have 80%. And of course, ITAK has 33% or so. We will negotiate with all Tamil parties when our party differences apart. We stood on a common platform of local government with the local authority, with the local leadership. So I think we have no intention of negotiating with the APP as such. But we are not against the government as such. I know for certain, because I was a senior local government person, I was the municipal commissioner in Jaffna. So you see, we have nothing against the government as such. But as local authorities, we will form administration in all local authorities with the support of our own local political parties. And we will negotiate with them. And I think it's coming through.
All right, let's leave it at that. Thank you very much. That was the leader of the Ilangai Tamil Arasu Katchi, CVK Sarvajana. Let's take a break, and when we return, we'll talk about the health of our economy. And for that, Deputy Minister of Finance and Planning, Dr. Harshana Sooriyapperuma will be here. And later, Dr. Kenneth De Silva, Global Business Cycle economist, will be here to talk about how the Trump tariffs will impact Sri Lanka. This is the State of the Nation. Back in a moment. Welcome back everyone to the State of the Nation. Soon you might see an increase in your electricity bills as the government is being pushed by the IMF to do so. The government is under pressure to increase electricity prices since the IMF unlocked the next tranche of $344 million contingent on the restoration of cost recovery pricing for electricity. The very reason this government's continuation with the same IMF plan resulted in public dismay, which was evident from the election results, which we just received in the local government election. Now, on the other hand, the looming Trump tariffs on Sri Lankan exports, according to top exporters there, US buyers are awaiting more clarity on the 44% Trump tariff before taking any decision to shift out of Sri Lanka, though there is pressure to cut prices after a reduced 10% tax went into effect. Well, what's going to happen is when the Trump tariffs comes into play, lots of US buyers would not buy things from Sri Lanka. This is going to impact mostly the apparel sector. And if that happens, then what is going to happen to our economy? That's a big question that needs to be sorted out right now. Joining us now to comment on both those issues is the Deputy Minister of Finance, Dr. Harshana Sooriyapperuma. Thank you very much, Minister, for your time. There is a lot of pushback from the general populace on the and the opposition in regards to your government's continuation of the previously implemented IMF plan. Now, for example, the IMF is requesting the electricity tariffs to be increased despite your government promising it will be kept low. And it's looking like you may have to cave in and give in to what the IMF wants. This is a significant diversion from your campaign promise. How do you respond?
Yes, Mahieash. I think the interesting element is to note that during the election campaign itself, we mentioned we will not deviate from the IMF program. The government kept that promise because, as I said, stability is important. Certain choices were made in the past. Whether it was right or wrong, it's a different situation, different debate over there. But as a country, we have made a decision. And prior to the campaign, as I said, prior to the presidential election itself, we mentioned very openly, we will continue we will not derail from the IMF program. Having said that, we mentioned to them that we will negotiate to get benefits to people. I'll give some example where we kept that promise, delivered that promise to people as well. You mentioned about the electricity bill. Electricity bill was reduced in January by a significant percentage. That is to ensure, in one angle, our industries will get a better rate so they can maintain their competitive advantage when they are trying to move overseas, export to other countries, while competing with the countries in the region who are having much lower electricity tariffs than that of Sri Lanka. Not only that, we provided relief to people, which we promised in our campaign also. Several people, vulnerable groups, were affected during the economic calamity and they could not come out. Even as of now, the poverty levels in the country is not in a place where we can be happy at all. Several people were struggling, living below poverty lines. So we increased benefits that's provided to them. Most important parts, the school benefits to school children. They are the future of this nation. So there were a lot of relief provided. Farmers were taken care of by increasing the subsidy, the fertilizer subsidy made available to them. Fishermen, the community who's out there for fishing were supported with their activities by giving a fuel allowance, likewise several engagements. And you asked the question relating to the electricity tariff aspect. The IMF program is requiring certain measures to be followed, but as a country also, we need to understand that the cost recovery measures to be implemented by this type of institutions who engage in commercial related activities as well. So we believe the country will continue on these engagements. We need to have a long-term plan to reduce the country's electricity cost by investing in the right infrastructure.
Minister, Trump tariffs are obviously going to hit hard for our exports, which means there should be some kind of pushback from our end as well. Announcements were made earlier on from your government to hold discussions, and you claimed it was successful. What was the success and how is it helping our country to come out of these tariffs?
Yes, Mahieash. This is a global situation. It is not a case against Sri Lanka by one country. It is not the case. It is affecting almost all the countries in the world, whether it's a developed nation or whether it's a developing nation, irrespective, it is affecting all. It is a decision made by the US government based on the trade deficit situation that they were experiencing all this time. Sri Lanka was one of the countries that we were able to reach out to the US government with a positive response, proactively, and an actionable approach where we can give them some indication of the seriousness and willingness of Sri Lanka to engage with discussions. Why? Because nearly 25% of our exports are to US, predominantly from the apparel sector, and as well as our rubber sector is significant on that area. There are many other supplies, exports to US as well. So from the level of the president himself, he wrote to the President Trump and indicated our approach and the willingness to engage in the process. Sri Lanka was one of the first countries to reach out to them. Subsequently, we had multiple written correspondence with the USTR, the Trade Representative's Office. We had several virtual discussions. Based on the success of the program, they invited us to come in person, meet them and have another discussion to take the conversation to the next level. We have completed that one also successfully. This gave us a very good opportunity to understand, going beyond the general taglines out there, what are their needs, what are their expectations, what are the challenges, and we were able to explain to them as well our situation, the unique position Sri Lanka is in. We are within an IMF program, So it is not necessarily by choice we are stuck with some of the parameters and the challenges that we explained, because we are within the IMF program as a country to which we have committed as of now. So based on those lines, the discussions are ongoing. The cabinet has approved for us to move ahead with the next level of discussions as well. So we believe we are on the right path. We can see one country has already announced the successful approach in terms of engaging into a agreement. So there are some precedents as of now as well what is out there, but as I said, Sri Lanka is in a unique position. Our objective is to secure the best benefit for Sri Lanka given the challenging global platform and global situations as well. To ensure there was a competitive advantage that Sri Lankan exporters were enjoying prior to that, we want to continue with that one. So we believe Sri Lanka has done very well in that regard, and we are very hopeful we will get a good outcome.
Well, we have to just wait and see. Let's leave it at that. That was the Deputy Minister of Finance, Dr. Harshana Sooriyapperuma. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Let's check in with Global Business Cycle analyst Dr. Kenneth De Silva. Thank you very much, Doctor, for your time. Good to see you as always. Now, the fourth tranche of the IMF is here. How is this helping, as this has increased our debt portfolio and it's going to very soon manifest in the Sri Lankan economy? Because simple economics, the ones that I know, says taking more loans is not the way to properly develop the economy of a nation. What are we missing here?
Thank you, Mahieash, for having me on your show. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that assessment in terms of the debt increase is something that is absolutely of great concern to us. If you look at even the IMF's own projections, they project Sri Lanka's debt to GDP as a percentage to continue to be in the ranges of 100 and above. So there is no real respite in terms of the decrease in debt taking place. That is a significant concern because, as you said, taking debt for consumption is not what this country should do. And ironically, the IMF tranche is for budgetary support, which means it's for consumption. So it doesn't bode well for the future of the economy, and I think we have had many discussions on the IMF program and its impact, and I think this is no surprise to us when we see such transactions taking place and the tranche coming through based on fulfilling of the conditions of more pain to the local industries and more pain to the consumers by way of higher taxes and opening up of markets, which will again impact the overall debt, because as the currency depreciates, the depreciation adds on to the debt stock, and therefore we are in this continuous cycle of being trapped with the overall strangulation of the IMF.
Doctor, let's talk about the Trump tariffs. No one is talking about it. Now the government says it's all under control and the situation is positive. But the impact to the nation is going to be resoundingly big, because once it starts to fully kick in, I think we will be in a bigger victim here and in big trouble. In your opinion, how would Trump tariffs impact Sri Lanka?
The Trump tariffs, I believe, have been discussed with the key stakeholders, particularly the apparel sector. I think they have had some discussions, but as you said, there is no real clarity on that discussion as yet. But I think the markets seem to have adjusted, saying that there is some concession that may be on the table. Now we are waiting to see what that will happen. But nevertheless, I think in the long run, these tariffs will have to be factored in, because I know some of the current suppliers have been asked by their global buyers to absorb some of these costs into their overall margins, which is not healthy at all, because the apparel sector, the gross profit margins are fairly thin compared to other competitive countries. And if that happens, I think there will be a serious hemorrhaging of these balance sheets of these particular large exporters who are running on wafer thin operating margins. So that is number one. Number two is also there is a new development in terms of the overall simplified VAT structure, where the IMF has again insisted to renege that structure and to come back to the normalized VAT structure, which is to charge the domestically supplied trims and other accessories to be included into the VAT framework. Now this is of concern because if that happens, some of the local procurements will be negatively impacted. That is number one. Number two, the cost of finance in this, which is the working capital for these companies, will also increase because the current 30-day period is being extended to 45 days, and many see that the 45-day repayment or the refund mechanism is not a practical one, going by the history of how these refunds have happened. So all these uncertainties are not really helpful to the apparel industry.
Absolutely. Indeed, Dr. Kenneth De Silva, good to talk to you as always. Let's leave it at that. Well, usually I end the program with a closing statement. But tonight I want to share this light-hearted story of a blessing, well, combined with my unhealthy love for cats, which comes from Australia. Now the whole world is celebrating the enthronement of His Holiness Leo XIV. We can all agree that God blessed him to lead his flock. But he's not the only Leo whom the Lord has blessed. Meet Leo the cat.
He looks pretty relaxed now, nestled in the arms of his new human. But last month, the only warmth Leo the stray kitten could find would be in the engine bay of a recently parked car. Not so comfy when that car started moving through the West Connects.
Seeing that poor little cat running across the motorway might have been the most heart-stopping moment that I've seen.
Leo would chew through a clutch of his 9 lives in just a few seconds. From missing moving engine parts as he fell from the bay, to the cold concrete below. Then the first car dodged. Then the second. Then the relative sanctuary of the roadside where Leo would cower until found by Transurban's incident detection system.
It can actually pick up things like debris, pedestrians, stopped vehicles, and kittens.
The plan was to take Leo to care, but Operation Support Worker Amanda Correll was watching the monitors too.
I told them to turn the car around and bring him straight back here so I could take him.
But then Amanda had a mate who needed a mate.
When I saw Leo, I was like, oh my God, this is like perfect. She can...
Perfect.
Perfect.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
And he also made the car ride home with me, so that's another life.